Hello and welcome to Board Games with Nermus. My name is Martin and today I'm going to be doing a run through, my first one, of the game 2GM Tactical War Game. And it's a game published by Proyecto Enigma and actually made by Drako Ideas. And I actually managed to pick this up at Essen last year to do a run through. It's a little bit late, but thank you very much guys, and it's a little bit late than ever. In this game, we're actually it's set in World War II, and we set the Germans on one side, which is going to be me, and the Americans, played by Drako here, hello, on the other side. The game is a two-player game, set in the base game, but with more copies it can be played up to 4 players as well. There's also a solo version included. This is kind of a deck builder game. You build a deck of cards for the Battle Royale, which is the scenario we're going to play today. And we're going to use 120 points, and you can use 120 points set as this. I'll show you the point value of this card here, up here at the left hand corner. It's worth 2 points, so this is the 2 point, this cost 2 points to actually put this in my deck. I pre-built my deck here for the Germans, and I pre-built Drako's deck for the Americans. Each game it can be played a little bit differently, but we're going to play it as the Battle Royale, and the game can end in one of 3 ways. Either the opponent surrenders, which is very unlikely because it's Drako, he likes to play to the die-hard finish, or you can actually kill your opponent's headquarters down from 10 points down to 0, or the opponent runs out of cards to draw and doesn't have any cards left in his hand. That can actually happen as well. To begin the game, we have given each player 5 action points, simply these blue little markers here. And you actually draw a starting hand of 5 cards. These are my cards, German cards, and these are actually Drako cards. I'm going to draw his cards. 5 cards here. And you can look at them. You're actually allowed to do 1 mulligan. I'm not going to do 1 mulligan, but I think I like my cards quite a lot. And then you actually roll the dice. And we'll see. I actually roll for Drako because Drako's hands are a little bit tiny. We'll see if we can actually roll. Oh, actually he rolled a 10. Fantastic for him. I rolled a 10 as well, and then we actually keep rolling till someone actually doesn't get a tie. Okay, I got a 6 and he got a 3. Now, you actually take these action points back into your hand, as many as you want, and you can choose to augment your dice roll with the action points. And if you choose to do so, you can also use the action points you actually spend to actually buy terrain, and the terrain can actually come out in the game board before I actually start playing the game. That's the only way to get terrain out. So I'm actually going to select, well, secretly I'm going to select 1. Drako doesn't actually want to put anything, so I'm going to select 1. And I'm going to put out, let's see here. Yeah, okay, I'll put out some barriers here. And there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of terrain, or actually on the board. You can only place them out in the 2nd and the 3rd line. So I'm going to place them out here, and I will actually block the terrain here between the forest and the hedgerows here. And it's actually, as it says here, it's impassable terrain for all tanks, artillery and transport troops, does not affect infantry, and actually it looks like this, these hedgerows. Something like that. Now, since I'm the first player, I'm going to be first player for the whole game. And the game actually takes place in phases, and you're going to start with a phase as the starting phase. Then you go into the headquarters phase, and that actually generates action points. So I'm going to be generating 1 action point, so that's what the headquarters does. So I'm going to get 1 action point out, and I'm going to place it out, down, right over here. Then I'm going to actually draw 2 cards from my deck and actually add it to my hand. And I got out some light infantry, which are some cool cards. I can actually show you a little bit up in more detail what it actually looks like. And they're actually, the cards are kind of nice. They're kind of like a bit of cartoonish, but they're quite well drawn. And when I've done that, I'm going to go into movement. Since I don't have any units out, the first turn is a little bit special, so therefore no movement is actually done. Then I'm going to go into deployment, which means I will deploy my units. Units cannot move during the same turn they were deployed in and use any other cards. So by deploying the troops, I can actually choose to deploy them, and I will actually do that, and I will take the cost of the card is actually listed in the left-hand corner. So if you can see that heavy infantry here is actually going to be costing 2 for my action points. If I want to use any other special abilities on the card, I'm going to have to pay for them. So if I want to use, well, I actually want to give this heavy infantry a heavy machine gun, mortar, or a Panzerschreck, which is kind of like the German version of the bazooka, I'm going to have to pay action points for it as well. So if I want to give it the Panzerschreck, it's going to cost me 1 additional action point, which I'm actually going to do just for the sake of it. So I can show you how to do it, and there it is. So I'm going to spending 3 action points, and I can only deploy it right on the line of the headquarters out over here. So I'm going to deploy it out over here, and then I'm going to be placing this little bazooka chit here. I don't know if you can see it, but that's what it looks like, and we're going to actually place it right on the card. Now, when I've done that, I don't think I want to deploy any more troops, because you can actually save action points to actually use them for spending them on more higher value cards or more expensive cards. Or you can actually use cards to react against the opponent. See, he shoots at me and actually, I want to make sure that he misses. Then I can possibly play cards and make sure he misses. That can actually be quite unnerving for the opponent. Okay, I haven't got anything to shoot at. Well, I could technically shoot against this barrier if I actually would be in range, and I am in range. It has a range of 2, so I could possibly shoot against this barrier to try to destroy it, but I'm not going to do so. Then I go into discard the turnover phase. There's nothing to turn over. In case I would have used this bazooka, for example, then I would actually have to turn it over and then turn it over to diamond shape, and then it actually would have been used. So I can't use the same ability twice on the same card. Then it goes into the discard phase, and if I would have had more than 7 cards in my hand, I would have had to discount down to 7, and it will actually go into my discard pile. Now, moving on to Drako. Drako's going to go and taking his turn now. And first of all, he was going to go for his starting phase. And starting phases, that means if there are any ongoing effects, so for example, he's been suppressed, his unit is no longer suppressed, it means that it's been rested, that means that we'll take the suppressed marker off. I will explain that a bit later if it comes down to it. The headquarter phase means that he will actually get 1 action point, generating straight out over here to his headquarters. Then he's going to be drawing 2 cards into his deck. Oh, awesome. He actually got an M4 Sherman and a heavy infantry. I really don't hope he actually will deploy that tank, but he might. And as you can see, he actually has some really nice cards. He has an M5 Stuart, an anti-tank gun, the Sherman, another Sherman, and heavy infantry like I did, and also the M8 Greyhound, and also an ability card. Now, he's done the card phase, he's actually doesn't have anything to move, and he's actually going to deploy. And actually, bad enough for me, he's actually going to in for his Sherman, and he's going to deploy straight away. He's spending 4 action points. Putting it down over here. And he has 2 left. And the Sherman is a little bit different. You can actually see that it actually comes with a free machine gun on it. And you can spend more machine guns to actually boost up its firepower. So by doing so, I'm going to give it the machine gun. That means that it can actually fire both the machine gun and its main cannon when it actually chooses to fire. But it hasn't got anything to fire at, so Drako goes on and moves into the discard phase, and he hasn't got anything to discard, and therefore he moves on to me. Now I'm going to go do the same thing. I generate 1 action point, but I actually generate 1 extra action point because I actually have started to build up my supply line. This is the way to generate more money. If I would build up my supply line starting from here, here, and up here, if I would have units here and here and here, so for example, if I would have had 1 unit here and 1 unit here, that would generate me 1, 2, 3, 4 points. However, if Drako would destroy this unit here, then I would only generate 1 2 points because the supply line has been broken. That's the way to actually disrupt your enemy's economy. Now, since I didn't have that, I will generate 1 extra action point because of that unit, and I will go into the card phase and I will actually draw 2 cards. I've got more infantry. I really want to get up my tanks. Then I will have movement, and has a movement up here actually. You will see that up here. I will actually zoom in. Up in the left hand corner it has a little arrow here, and has an arrow with a value of 1, which means it actually can move 1 step. It's actually going to move up 1 step right up here. There are no diagonal moves. You can only move orthogonically, which means left and right, back and forth. And if you would actually move into one of these terrains here, you would actually have to stop your movement because the unit kind of becomes entangled in the forest and the hedgerows or in the mountain. On the backside of these terrain tiles, there are also lakes, there are rivers, there are sea tiles. I recommend not using this one for your first game, but it's all up to you as well. Now, I've done the movement. I'm actually going to deploy some units, and I need to get up something that can stop his heavy tank. But I'm going to deploy a command group. I'm going to command group here. I'm going to pay 3 points for it. And the command group is a little bit special because it generates more action points based in which line it is in. So if you would be up here, it would generate 3 points extra. So it's a special unit, and it's really, really good, especially if you get it out quite early. So I was quite lucky. That's it. I'm gonna go into, I don't have anything to shoot with, so I actually go into, do I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards? That's the end of my turn. Moving into Drako. Drako is actually quite happy. He gets in 2 action points. And he draws 2 cards. Actually he moves. And the tank actually has a movement of 2, so it can move 2, but if it would go into one of the forests, it would have to stop. So it goes up 1, and it goes up here 2. Then I would actually, my mistake, actually I would have drawn two more cards. And actually, let's see here, what did he get? Oh no, he gets more tanks. I will actually go in to deploy more units for him. Bad news for him, actually he needs more money, so he's actually going to deploy 1 command group for a cost of 3. Does he have anything else that he can actually pitch in? No, he does not, and thank you for that, Drako. At least you're not going to destroy me on the first couple of turns. That's it. But now he can actually, let's see if he can actually shoot at something. He has the Sherman tank here. It has a range of 3, so it has 1, 2, 3. He can actually shoot against my heavy infantry, and that's how you actually count range here. There's no line of sight in this game, but there is range, and range is actually counted orthogonically as well. So you will be 1, 2, 3, or he can go 1, 2, 3. He can actually try and destroy my command group. And when you actually start shooting here, it's actually quite interesting because first of all, you roll the dice. You have to, the Sherman up here, I'll show you up the card, see if you can see. The Sherman up here, it hits on a 5 or more, it crits on a 9. If it actually crits on a 9, it completely destroys the enemy unit. But you have to actually get through its armor. And the armor penetration value of this card is 6. I have an armor of 2, which means I will actually penetrate if I actually manage to hit. Let's see if his Sherman will actually be able to hit my command group. Well, unfortunately, the cannon shot with a 2, which is a miss. Now, he can choose to use his machine gun, but that means it will be flipped and it won't actually be used again. Will he use the machine gun? Well, let's see if it actually can do that. Yeah, he's going to use the machine gun. It actually, well, he could have used the machine gun if he would have been over here. But the machine gun only has a range of 2, so he therefore cannot shoot at me. I'm lucky. That's the end of Drako's turn. He doesn't want to move, he doesn't want to deploy anything else. And moving on to me. And I generate 1, 2, 3, 4 action points because of the command group. Let's see if I can do something with that. I will actually see if I can draw 2 cards. I'll draw 2 cards. No tags. No tags. I'm in deep trouble here. I need to get something out that I can actually hit his tags. Well, actually I have the bazooka here. Maybe I can do that. Movement. I will move up my heavy infantry. And I will move it up over here. And I will move up my command group. And then I will deploy. And I'm going to deploy my another heavy infantry, and I'm going to use the same tactic that I had before, and I'm going to actually buy a bazooka because he has so many tanks, and that's going to cost me 3 action points. Now let's see if I can actually hit his Sherman. Now his Sherman is over here. The forest doesn't affect the tank at all because there's no line of sight, as I said. But he can't go through here, so he has to go through the forest, which means he has to stop here next turn, unless he wants to stay here and shoot. My bazooka won't actually reach it because it has a range of 2, and he actually can't hit him. So I'm in a little bit of deep trouble here, but I'm going to try to hold on. I hope he doesn't destroy my command group next turn. Won't you, Drako? Oh, sorry, you can't use fire breath here, unless you get a flamethrower, but maybe that will work out for you. Okay, that's it. Let's see if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 cards, which means I have to discard 1 card here. And I'm going to discard my light infantry, move into my discard pile, and then it's Drako's turn. Drako will generate 2 points. If he would have another unit here, he would actually generate another point plus the Sherman, but he doesn't. So, but it's actually a command group, so he actually generates 1, 2, 3. 3 points. That's actually not too bad. Then he draws 2 cards. Let's see what he gets. He gets another command group, and he actually gets a... Oh, that's a nice card. That's a hit card. He has 4 points. He actually not going to deploy anything because he's going to use something nasty at me, I think so. What will he do? Well, he's actually going to move the command group up first, and then he's actually going to move up the Sherman up here. Because the aim of the game is still trying to destroy the headquarters up here, and if he does so, the game ends. So he's actually going to 1, 2, 3. He's actually going to attack my headquarters with his cannon by shooting. He misses. So unbelievable. But he still will actually attack my command group here with his machine gun. And he's actually going to play out a hit card here. I'll show up here. It costs 4 points, and it means it hits automatically. And the machine gun does 2 damage. It actually does 2 damage. Yep. So it actually hits my command group. It has 2 damage. So I would have actually placed this little red 2 marker here, but if actually it actually exceeds, or it's actually the same amount as the health points here, that means the command group is destroyed, which is bad luck for me. And this one is flipped, which means that it can't be used in the following in the same turn. It gets flipped back in another phase. Now he doesn't want to do anything else. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. He's going to discard his heavy infantry, and of course the hit card as well, and he's going to discard the ammo card as well, which is another ability, and that's the end of Drako's turn. My mistake, it actually means that he actually I counted mistakenly here. He actually didn't have discard the ammo card. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards actually, so that's actually correct. Over to my turn. I have 1, 2, 3 points. Don't have my command group anymore, unfortunately, and I'm going to draw 2 cards. No tanks whatsoever. I got replacement. Replacement is a kind of nice card. If your tank or a special unit is destroyed, you can actually use this card to draw a card from the discard deck up into your hand, which is kind of a nice card replenishing your hand if you really lost a valuable unit. However, I'm going to use, let's see what I will do. I will move my unit. I will move up the heavy infantry here. And I'm going to move up my other heavy infantry up here. And then I'm going to deploy my light infantry, which is kind of the same card as Drako before discarded. I'm not going to put any special abilities on it because I'm going to try to save up my money. I'm going to need it. But now I've actually built up a supply line of this one, this card, and this card here, which actually nets me some nice income if his Sherman doesn't destroy my line of supply. Now, I'm going to start shooting now, and I actually have this heavy infantry here. Now, normally I have a penetration value of 3 and he has an armor of 5. Normally I wouldn't be able to have even as much of a dent in his armor, but thankfully I have a bazooka, and the bazooka is kind of a nice thing against tanks, because the bazooka has a penetration value of 8. And it's nice because you have these small little cards next to you showing you exactly what weapon does what damage and what penetration and so on as well. It actually gives you the game turn on the other side, so it's a nice touch. So I'm going to start trying to hit him with my bazooka, where actually it says a Panzerschreck. Sorry my German. And it has a range of 2, and it's actually quite fine up here. And then it hits on a 5 and crits on a 9. So let's see if I can actually roll my black dice. Oh, so of course it's a 1. It's a miss. 1 is always a miss. Absolutely terrible. And that means, yeah, that's what 1 means. It stays there. It's not flipped over or anything because it's just a one-time. It's a weapon you can use continuously. Unfortunately, that's it for me. Moving over to Drako. Drako will net himself another more. Well, actually nets himself only 1 point because his command group is in the wrong line. Did you think that over? Oh, yeah, maybe you did. Maybe you have another plan you haven't told me about. My mistake here before. You shouldn't actually have that much money because you actually forgot to pay for your hit card here before. Maybe your little hands are actually got in the way of something. Maybe it's actually me. Maybe it's someone else. Who knows? I will actually draw, well, he netted 1 point there, so that's before, and then actually I will draw 2 cards. At least no tanks, but he did actually get up a special forces, which he can't use because he doesn't have any money left from his previous turn. And that means he will actually move. He will move up his command group up here and try to net it a little bit more points, getting more units up here before maybe next turn. And he's going to shoot. This one should have been flipped before as well, because it was used last turn. So he moved himself up here. Let's see if he actually wants to shoot. Oh, actually he doesn't want to deploy because he actually doesn't have any points to deploy with. Now he's actually going to start shooting with his tank. Well, that heavy infantry with the bazooka looks kind of nasty, and I'm going to use my machine gun firing on the heavy infantry, and the machine gun hits on a 7. It's a miss, means it's flipped. However, the cannon can still be used against the headquarter. So it's 1, 2, 3, because this counts kind of like an extra line, but only for kind of like range purposes for shooting. So his cannon is going to fire, and the range of that cannon is 3, so it's fine. It hits on a 5 and it crits on a 9, but however, headquarters are immune to critical hit, so it will just be a regular hit. And it's still a miss. Drako, I don't know if you've been barrel cleaning this tank, but it looks rubbish. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards now. I'm going to discard my special forces, and I'm going to discard, which actually looks like this. And he's going to discard his overheating ability as well. And this one will actually flip to be used next round. I'm going to be generating 1, 2, 3 action points. I'm going to be drawing 2 cards. Still no tanks. What's wrong with these Germans? I thought you were all about tanks, or panzers actually. So actually I will going to put in Do I have any light infantry? No, but I actually have this nice command group as well. So I'll put in the command group right over here, because you can deploy all along the line here, just not right in front of the headquarters if you want to. So the command group is going to cost me 3. And I didn't want to do any movement anyways before. The shooting, I'm going to use my bazooka or my Panzerschreck against the Sherman. It's a 6. Maybe that's a hit. I hope that's a hit. It is a hit. So since it hits on a 5 and I got a 6 and a penetration of 8 versus his 5, it actually does 2 damage. And I place the 2 damage marker on the tank, which means it can have a maximum of 3. You can have as much damage as you have up to its health, which means if I get 1 more damage on it, it actually dies and it goes into his discard pile. But the thing is now, since it's damage, he actually hits on 2 plus more. So he actually hits on a 7 and he crits only on an 11, which can't happen. So he can't crit with that tank, but he can only hit on a 7, and that's the good thing. If you have a mechanic standing next to the Sherman, which is a special ability in one of the infantry cards, you can actually try to repair it, which is actually quite worth it sometimes, because it only costs 1 point to repair it versus paying the full cost of it. And I'm going to start discarding as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. I'm going to discard my replacement card, I really don't want it, and my heavy infantry as well. And then I will actually move over to Drako. And Drako will actually still only net himself 1 point. Let's see if he will actually get out some nice cards. Oh, replacements here, and light infantry. And that's actually what he's going to be trying to focus on. He actually would place out his light infantry right out over here. He's not going to use anything else on it. He spends his 1 point. And then he moves into shooting. He really wants to shoot down this heavy infantry. But now he only hits with a 7 with a tank. And he only hits with a 9 with a machine gun. He's going to try with a machine gun on the tank. 8, which is almost. And let's see with the tank a 7, and that's actually a hit on my headquarters, which means it does actually 2 damage on my headquarters. That's actually really bad because you can never heal your headquarters ever. Drako's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. He's actually going to discard his Sherman. And maybe that's a mistake, I'm not sure. Moving over to me, I'm going to, let's see what I actually get. I get 1, and this one should be flipped over as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I really want to get out a tank now. Please get me a tank. Yes, at least some sort of a tank. It's a German half-track, and half-track can be transporting units, and it's actually quite nice. The half-track is what actually I'm gonna start moving up my command unit, and my light infantry will move up here. Then I will actually deploy my half-track. It costs 3 to deploy it. But the good thing with the half-track, it has mobility. Mobility means it can be moved as soon as it is deployed up to the full range of the movement allowance, which means it has 3 movement allowance, so I can technically move it 1, 2, 3 points up here. And I will do 1, 2, 3. I'm actually going to move it up all the way here because I want to try and hit his command group up here. Then I move over to shooting, and I'm going to start with my heavy infantry. It has the bazooka, so I'm going to start firing with the bazooka. It has 7, I think that's a hit. It is a hit, and bye Sherman. I'm sorry, Drako. The Sherman goes to your discard pile. It's destroyed with all the equipment it had on it, and of course the wound markers. And that's that. I'm going to try also to hit with my half-track, the SDK FZ 251, which is a German half-track has a small machine gun up here. It has a range of 2, which actually means it will actually be able to hit the command group. Oh, this is strange. Drako, you told me that there's actually 3 in range here, and actually I only have 2, so that's actually a good point. So I actually can't reach it. That sucks for me. And I still don't have my tanks up yet. So you're luck, and I guess I'm really unlucky. But that means I'm done with my shooting, and I'm still gonna have to discard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll discard my light infantry. And that, guys, is pretty much how the game works. There are a number of more things that I haven't showed you in this game. There are aircraft, there are artillery, there is tanks. Well, you've shown the tank parts. There are more components as well, such as you can use generals if you get them out in the game. You can also use special abilities that has a little star marked corner up here, up in the right corner. Those are used for the advanced game. It's a quite nice game, and it plays quite fast, tic-tac. So I hope you like this game. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you liked it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great morning, day, evening, or wherever you're watching this. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Be like Drako. Follow Board Games with Niramas on Facebook at BGW Niramas. Board Games with Niramas is sponsored by Alara Games in Sweden.